Welcome to Inner Peace, Better Health, where we explore how inner transformation leads to outer success. Today, we're joined by the powerhouse of purpose himself, Kellan Fluckiger, a coach, author, and creator of Your Ultimate Life. He is here to share how we can align our gifts with service, success, and true joy. Kellan, I must say, it is a true joy to have you here.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful to be part of your show, and I'm grateful for your work in adding good to the world. A podcast is a labor of love. So thank you for all that you're doing.
Yep, honestly, it's our pleasure. So, Kellan, you talk about living your ultimate life. What does that look like in real, everyday terms?
Well, everyday terms. I'm glad you asked that because it's easy to talk about woo-woo stuff up here. But if we don't get it right down to the road, it doesn't matter a lot. So I use the words purpose, prosperity, and joy. That's how I define it. Ultimate life means I live every day with a purpose. My purpose is to reach 300 million people with a message of their own worth, identity, possibility, ownership, and sovereignty. So every day, I'm on shows like yours. I have my own podcast. I write books. I just finished number 21. I'm starting a university in January. All those things are driven by that purpose. And prosperity is to teach people how to get paid because we all have to eat and pay rent and that kind of stuff. Teach people how to create money from their own skills and life experience, and then to choose to live in joy. So it means literally every day I get up and live in purpose, prosperity, and joy. And I love every minute of every day. So that's what it means. And my goal is to help others achieve their own version of that kind of life.
Yes. It's beautiful, a person to have purpose, gaining a prosperity to it, and being joyful with that. But I feel like for a normal person with confidence, it's easier. But if the same has to apply for a person who has self-doubt, how can someone stuck in self-doubt start stepping towards it today?
So I love that question. And in my own journey to get here, I had tons of self-doubt. My story, it was a long story of defeat and depression, and I had lots of struggles, including addictions and lots of negative stuff that went on for many years. And there's two keys. Number one, we get to make a choice to start loving ourselves because it's easy to compare ourselves with others. Ooh, they got more stuff than I do. They're better than me. And all that does is create this endless churn in our heart. And so learning to love yourself, that's a process. It doesn't happen all at once. But if you look at yourself, really, there are things that you can love about yourself. So start there. The second step is don't try to do things all at once. It just takes a little at a time. If I just change my behavior or my attitude or my thoughts or whatever it is, just 1% today, that's not very big. If I change that 1% today, in 100 days, that's only 3 months. I will have changed 100%. And so love yourself. Do it a little at a time. And what I found helpful was to get the help I needed. I found that I couldn't do this alone. And so I've had lots of help, professional help, coaches, counselors, because I was determined, like, I'm going to go to this new place. I'm done living this old way. And so even though there have been a lot of setbacks and struggles, I'm committed. So I'm going.
Yes. It's beautiful that you've put it in such a step-by-step process. It will be easier for listeners who want to come out of their self-doubt starting today. And you've put it in such a good way that purpose doesn't have to be distant. It can start with small, intentional steps.
It has to. Like like my goal is to reach 300 million people. I'm not going to do that in one day. I'm going to do a few today. I have a podcast like you do. I have 1,000 episodes. I've been at it for 5.5 years. And I find good guests, and each one of those is another step in that direction. And I've got another book I'm writing, and each one of those things, a chapter, a half a chapter, it's like, momentum. And
Hmm.
so a little at a time, it's how everything else grows.
Yeah.
Trees and the world, nothing happens overnight. So let's just go with that and choose to fall in love with the process.
Yes, small steps and consistency at it, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Kellen, you often mention that joy isn't something we chase, but something we create. How do we cultivate that mindset shift?
Well, if I was going to go to the park today and play or go to the park and do something fun and it rains, so I can't go, I get to choose whether I am angry or frustrated, or I can ask a different question, which is, what is
Hmm.
the gift? What is the gift here? What can I create because of this rain that I couldn't create otherwise? Maybe I
Hmm.
go in the rain. Maybe I decide, okay, I'll do something else and I'll focus on something else. But the energy that I attach to that is the key. If I go at it with curiosity and
Hmm.
excitement, my whole day is different than if I go at it with frustration and negativity. And
Yeah.
that change is something that was difficult for me to do, but doing it 1% at a time has brought me to a place where I can truly say I love every day and I don't care what happens. If it
Yes.
happens like I wanted, great. If it happens over here, my question is, okay, cool. What can I create out of that?
Hmm. It's like start by doing small steps and look into positive around you. And but I do think it is becoming a bit difficult in a society like this that we're living right now. So do you think the modern success culture makes joy harder to sustain?
Yeah, because I do, if we let it. I
Right.
don't think it has to be that way. But the answer is
Mhm.
absolutely, because we have accepted an external definition. Somebody out there says, I only get to
Mm.
have joy if I have a certain amount of followers or a certain amount of money, or, okay, then I can have joy. But if I don't have that, oh, I'm not okay. Like, who made that rule?
Yeah. Mm.
Who decided if I get to be happy? You don't, they don't. I can decide that. And I
Yeah.
realize it's easy to say that and hard to do. But yeah, when we have social media and people comparing themselves and getting involved in all the noise, I don't do that. I have chosen my own path. I've chosen my own beliefs. I don't let anybody else control that. And we give away our agency. We give away our right to choose. And when we do that, we're miserable. So, yes, the modern culture of we're going to tell you, the great we,
Mm.
what you need to be happy, what you should believe, how much money you need. And as long as we live there, we're done. We're miserable. And when we
Mhm.
take control, I'm going to decide, I get to choose, then you can get rid of that.
Yeah, I feel like each and every person should have their own definition of success because success is such a unique perspective for each and every one, and trying to putting into a generic definition is wrong, I feel like.
It's not very helpful. And what
Yeah.
it turns out is you and me, we're never going to get there. If you decide what my success is, I'm never going to get there. And even if I do, I'm not happy. If I decide what your success is, that's not going to make you happy. You get to choose, and you don't need anybody's permission. You don't need anybody's agreement.
Yeah.
You
Mm.
get to pick.
Yes, that's the wonderful part. That's the wonderful part, I feel like. And Kellen, you've overcome incredible personal challenges. How did those experiences reshape your understanding of purpose and service?
If every way possible. So,
Mm.
I had a long history of mental illness and depression and addictions and even suicide attempts. And, those all came when I was doing what we just talked about, when I was choosing to live someone else's definition of what to chase. When
Mm.
I quit doing that and started building my own, it wasn't easy, but it was a little at a time, it began to reveal what was possible. And today I don't live anyone else's definition. And in fact, I can truly say I don't do anything I don't want to do. I love every part of my life, but it was a little bit at a time. And so step one was deciding I'm done with this old way. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what kind of broken glass I've got to crawl over, but I don't care anymore. I've been living that way for a long time, decades even, and I'm done. So we're going to keep going here. And the other, so that first decision, I'm finished with that. The next thing was to get humble and vulnerable. Like I had to, for the first time in my life, admit to myself, wow, this hasn't worked. I need some help. And to go get it and just be open. You know, it took me a year to learn to talk to somebody and tell the truth and then just shut up, listen, and explore that instead of worrying about what they were thinking and all of the rest of that stuff. I just had to quit doing that. And then I began to grow and see opportunities. So a firm decision to go, getting the help I needed, and continuing to do that has been really important. And there's one more thing I want to mention, and that is I have a process. I call it a daily creation process. Some people call it a morning ritual or morning routine, and I don't like those words because they're so cliche. So I call it a DCP, daily creation process. I did it this morning. I do it every day, and it is my opportunity to decide who I am today, how I'm going to meet today. I thought about you. I thought about this show. I thought about other things that I'm doing. I recommitted. I'm going to do them the best I can. I'm going to show up with all the intention and love. I got those 300 million people to reach. You know, reviewing that and recommitting to that every day, for me, creates power, direction, excitement. And so I go into every day excited and ready to go. That's what I do.
You have such a powerful purpose, I feel like, and your life and your transformative journey is just so inspirational. But would you say pain is necessary for transformation?
You know, for me, it was. I mean, I had to go through all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to tell anybody else what they got to go through, but people often ask me stuff like, what would you change? Well, I've been through hell. I was in addiction and rehab and attempted suicide a couple times. And people ask, well, what would you change? And I would say nothing, because each of those difficult situations has had a big hand. It's like the refiner's fire. When you know, you put gold and silver and other precious metals, you heat them up. It's hot. It's fire. It burns off the garbage, and what you're left with is pure. And so that's how I view it. And I don't go seek hard things. They find all of us, but I don't resent them either. So I choose to view each of those things as refining fire. And even today, I mean, stuff in my life doesn't go like I want it to all the time. Of course not. And my questions are, okay, what can I create out of this? How can I let this refine me? And I've just chosen to view my life and do it that way. So yes, I think some amount of refinement, pain, struggle, and a choice to build from that. I mean, we can let those things either ruin us or refine us. Sometimes we let them ruin us for a day or a year or a decade, and then we can let them refine us later.
Yes, and I feel like you are such a courageous person, because opening up to your vulnerable self, or opening about your vulnerable self, is such a difficult thing to do. And turning wounds into wisdom and hardship into healing is such a beautiful thing. So I must say you are an inspirational figure. And I love the way you started to think, what kind of stuff do I have and how I can use them to transform myself. But many people feel their gifts aren't big enough to make an impact. What would you say to them?
I would just tell them I love them. And I would tell them they actually have no idea how big they are, because they haven't been exploring them enough. They haven't been digging in enough. I can tell you and every one of your listeners right this minute, the gifts that you have can change the world. You just haven't been digging in enough. And just because you sit there and say, well, I don't really have anything. How do you know? How do you know? Like, I stopped that. So here, when I started this journey 18 years ago, I had a big change in my life in 2007. So 18 years ago, I went to a conference a little bit after that, and there was a great speaker. He was up there speaking, and he was trying to teach us how to tell story and how to speak and stuff.
Mm,
And I had done a lot of speaking. I had an executive career. This happened when I was 52. So in 2007, I was 52. In a couple months, I'm going to turn 70. So that's the 18 years now that I've been working on this. But
mm,
anyway, I went to this conference and I'm listening to this guy and he's great. We're all excited. And then here's what I thought. I realized how good he was. And he was selling us to attend some other conference to learn more for a couple $1,000. And I was sure it'll probably be worth it and everything. But here's what I thought. I got frustrated, and I was so frustrated I was crying tears of frustration. It was a big auditorium with about 700 people. And I got up and I stomped out of the meeting. And
mm.
under my breath, I said, well, I could do what he's doing too. If I had a story like he did, because he turned some pieces of his life into this powerful story. But I stomped out of there saying, but me, I got nothing. And
Mm.
18 years later, I've written 21 books and I have taught this so many times to so many people. And so if you're telling me you don't have anything, my answer to you is I love you and you ain't looking hard enough.
Yes, yes, I agree with you. And because you coach people on prosperity from the inside out, right? But how can one balance ambition with peace?
Ambition and peace are not mutually exclusive. You have to decide that. Like if you have a family and you've got kids that you're taking care of, or if you're taking care of an elderly parent, we got my wife's mother lives with us. She's 94 and she's
Mm,
blind, almost completely blind in one eye and about 80% blind in the other eye. So we've been taking care of her. She's been living with us for 5 years. We also had a refugee family, mother and daughter, that was living with us for 3.5 years. And in fact, they just this week got an apartment finally and got a job and moved out on their own. So we've been taking care of a lot of those. We've been doing what we can to add good to the world. You got to decide your ambition and peace.
mm,
And again, ambition is the yearning within us to accomplish something. Well,
mm,
is your accomplishment threshold set by somebody else? Meaning, I got to have this much money. I got to look like this. I got to drive this or live here or whatever it is. Is it external, or what is your soul
mm,
calling you to do? Because you find peace when you choose to line your actions with your own purpose. And you can make enough money to live and you can make enough money to have nice things. The problem is when I'm in comparing myself. Well, I'm not as much as so and I don't have them. And you don't actually even know that because the garbage you see online is
mm.
garbage anyway.
Yeah.
So you got to go inside and decide who you are. And balancing ambition and peace is not impossible at all. It's very achievable, but you have to turn down the outside noise.
Yes, it's as if almost every problem solution is digging deeper into yourself and embracing each and every part of yourself, I feel like. But Kellen, what daily habit you personally stay aligned with? Uh, what personal habit that you have to stay aligned with both ambition and peace?
So I mentioned earlier my daily creation process. It has
Mm,
4 parts. SPEM, spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental. And I use a spiritual practice to align myself with my higher purpose. And you can have a lot of those things, meditation, prayer, sacred literature, scriptures, whatever it is, but you have to do it because that's where you find peace. The
mm,
physical part is to honor your body, some kind of exercise. And emotional is your relationships. Are your relationships true? Do you need to do
mm,
some love, some repair? Like, is there relationship stuff that's bothering you? And M is mental, which is activity. I got a stack of about 40 books over here, literally 2 stacks of 20 that I'm in the middle of. And I do that every day to keep my mind active. So when I've prepared myself that way, then when I go out my business, which is coaching and helping people write books and that
mm,
kind of stuff, I am completely present with who I am and what I want to be. And that makes me able to be inspired about which things to do. Just this morning, as
mm,
I was doing that practice, I had two ideas to inspirations that I hadn't thought of before to go
Hmm.
do this or that. And I wouldn't have had those if I had not done my preparation. So my daily habits that I never, ever, ever skip is my daily creation process so
Hmm.
that I am aligned and focused. And if anybody wants to know what that is and how I do that, I'm looking for it. I have a book called Living with Purpose and Power where I've written down all the
Hmm.
things that
Hmm.
I do and how I created them and why they work. And
Hmm.
so that if somebody's interested, that's where you'll find that.
Yes, yes. And I feel like there are different ways to do that, but one should figure out which way helps them the most.
Absolutely. Like I'm not saying that what I do is what everybody should do. What I
Hmm.
am saying is you better have a process and it better work for you. And if you have a process and it doesn't work, get another one because you have
Yes.
to be prepared and focused. And so fix it.
Hmm.
And what I write in there is what I do and a bunch of suggestions. But having a way you create yourself is not negotiable. How you do it, I
Hmm.
don't care. My only question is, did it work?
Yeah. So it starts with a trial and error method, I feel like, but one foolproof method would be following someone who has gone through and experienced it and now is in a good position, like you, I feel like.
Well, I did. I met people in my journey who appeared to have all or some of what I wanted, and I did just what you're doing. I asked, "What do you do?" I read books. I went to conferences. I got coaches. And eventually, in the process, I built my own that I own and works for me and everyone that wants to achieve. If you want to get your ultimate life, if you want to balance ambition and peace, if you want to do all the stuff
Hmm.
that you ask, you just have to keep pursuing it, loving
Hmm.
yourself in the process, getting the help you need, and you're going to get there. It's not impossible. It's very achievable, but we have to keep moving. Like if we give up, we know where that goes. Nowhere. We can give
Hmm.
up anytime we want, but then we quit and we're nowhere. So we just have to keep going.
Yes, yes. That's actually a very powerful message that you've just said. Just be content with yourself, I feel like. And before we end this show, I would like to know for the listeners what kind of ways are there for them to connect with you.
So thank you. It's easy. I'm easy to find because I have a name like Kellan Fluckiger. And so with that weird name, I can't hide. So if you want to find me, I'm on I don't know, all most socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, et cetera. YouTube, got 1,000 videos on YouTube. I have a podcast called Your Ultimate Life. That's
Hmm.
on all the podcast places. And I've got 1,000 and I think we just recorded episode 1031 the other day. So I'm not hard to find. There's a website that I'll give you that has links to everything, and it's called Kellan Fluckiger
Hmm.
Media.com. And it's got all my books and podcasts and everything, so you can find everything from there. So Kellan Fluckiger Media.com would be the easiest way to find everything. And there's also a contact form on that site if you want to have a conversation.
Perfect, perfect. Each and every detail will be in the show details. On this note, I would like to end this episode here. What a transformative conversation. Kellen's wisdom shows us that the purpose, prosperity, and joy aren't destinations, they're choices we make every day. If this talk lit a spark in you, start creating your ultimate life today because the world needs your life exactly as it is.
Certainly. And thank you for having me today here with you on your show. I appreciate it.